Hello and welcome to the second unit of our second week in the course Avoid SAP S/4HANA project delays with third-party system service virtualization. My name is Mateusz Nowak, and in this unit I will show you how you can avoid dependencies on the B2B partners by using historical transactions. Before we jump to the system and see how the historical transactions can be virtualized, it's important to go through the recommendations about the way how the messages from the B2B partners will be saved. Sarah, the senior IT manager, and Daphne, the SAP consultant, have two options to save the messages from the partners. They can either save all messages for the specific interface, or they can save only specific kinds of messages, for example, the ones with a specific customer, vendor, or the global location number. They can also decide if it's better to have one big bag containing all the messages from specific interfaces, or whether they want to have messages for different interfaces grouped by some conditions like the interface name, customer name, country, and so on. And all of that is from the message payload. I will show you both options in the demo later. The definition of the way how messages are structured is very important at the beginning, because then the whole organization should follow the same procedures. Everybody should be aware of where to find what messages and scenarios. It gives not only Daphne but also other people from different departments the capability to easily find the right data. Once Daphne and her team know what the structure is, the next step is to make sure that no data that was received is lost. All the integration platforms usually persist messages for a limited period of time, for example 4 or 7 days. Some messages sent by the B2B partners are very important and precious. For example, when a B2B partner sent the message only several times during a month in bulk, or when the messages are very unique. Daphne can store even all messages for the specific interfaces. Of course, it doesn't mean that she has to repeat and virtualize all of them, but it gives her the freedom and independence from the B2B partners in testing any single scenario. The next point is to make sure that everyone, not only Daphne's department, is aware of the possibility of the virtualization and that all knows how the messages are structured. The same saved messages from the EDI partners can be used by Daphne when she wants to manually test the sales order processing, and her colleagues from the shipping department when they want to test the configuration they'd made for a specific set of sales orders. Last but not least, Sarah can try to expose the test data repository to various teams in form of a self-service. It's possible to use the INT4 suite directly from the Fiori application, and it's very easy to do so. What if Sarah's organization uses chatbots, Slack, or other communicators where they have already implemented some bots to help their business? They can also use INT4 suite API, and they can implement a bot that will repeat messages and inform about new documents created on the S4 site, even without logging into the Fiori application. This will be described by Michal in the first unit of the third week. Okay, I think it's a high time to show you how Daphne can save messages that are sent from the external applications into one big container for each interface, and then how she and her team can use a well-defined catalogs. In this unit, we will have a detailed look on the way messages can be saved, and in the next unit, Michal will show you how to simulate and virtualize these saved messages. Before we jump to the demo, let me introduce Oskar and Ike, who will help Daphne with the service virtualization configuration. Oskar is the solution architect, and he's the key person in most of the project. He's an early adopter of new technologies. Oskar often helps other team members, sometimes teaches them, and ensures that the job is done on time and on an agreed scope. Ike is a junior test engineer who's working in the testing department. He creates and maintains test cases and messages. His main concern is about understanding enough of the tested domain to be able to execute manual test cases. He's starting to grow into the test automation. One last thing before we jump to the demo. The demo in this unit will be based on the SAP PIPO interface, but it's worth mentioning that regardless of the integration platform, whether this is SAP Integration Suite, SAP PIPO or Boomi, the process of the virtualization is very similar. Okay, let's finally jump to the INT4 Suite Fiori application to show you the process. In the main screen of the INT4 Suite, Daphne, Oscar or Ike can choose different tiles assigned to several sections. If they want to enable service virtualization for all EDIFACT sales order messages into one bucket from various EDI partners, they can create or reuse existing automation objects and then add a virtualization scenario for it. Automation object is the object that contains all of the information about the interface and the processing rules that are applied during the simulation of the EDI partners. Oscar and Ike can create automation objects automatically by the robotic crawler that directly reads information from the integration platform, or they can create them manually by choosing a single interface. For Daphne, however, the only information she needs is to know which automation object can be used for which interface. Let's click on the automation object tile and have a quick glance on the automation object that Oscar and Ike created. As you can see, Ike could provide the details for the automation objects either manually or he could import them from the so-called wizard. That is the reason why both Oscar, who's a senior consultant, and Ike, who's the junior consultant, can do this without any single problem. In the automation object, Oscar and Ike imported the EDIFACT sales order interface directly from the SAP PIPO. That's as simple as that. In addition to this, Ike and Oscar created a variable PO for the purchase order number. This variable stores the original purchase order number from the message that was saved, and it creates a new unique purchase order number every single time when the B2B partner virtualization will be performed by Daphne. Variables concept will be described by Konstantinos in the 4th unit of this week. Let's go back to the main screen to be able to open the INT4 Messenger. Now Oscar or Ike can create on the service virtualization scenario in the INT4 Suite Messenger. To enable saving all the messages for Daphne from the EDIFACT sales order interface used by the EDI partners, Oscar needs to create a new service virtualization scenario. He can click on the Add button and then he can provide the specific virtualization object. This service virtualization scenario is binded with the service virtualization object that is binded with the automation object. You will learn more about automation object and virtualization object in next unit of this week. Oscar also needs to provide the landscape, so the environment from which the messages will be created. For the purpose of the demo, let's choose the dev environment. Now we can click Add. Now Oscar just needs to enable the service virtualization scenario by clicking on the Enable icon. From this moment, all of the messages for this interface will be continuously saved in the message repository. Now Daphne can check the details of the interface, and at the very first glance she can recognize the inbound sales order interface for which she wants to save all messages from different EDI partners. Now she has to wait until the first messages come from any EDI partner. Okay, perfect. We can see 28 messages already sent by the EDI partners. Daphne can click on the messages to see the details. She can see all the messages. In case she wants to virtualize a specific EDI message, she can select it and then click Inject button. In case she's interested in the specific message with the specific purchase order number, she can just filter the messages based on the message content or the PO variable number. In the situation where she wants to use the predefined purchase order number value, she can just type the specific PO number value here. Before she virtualizes this message, pretending that it was sent by the EDI partner, she can just check the details by clicking on the message and confirming that we have the correct message with the right PO number. Wonderful! Daphne is happy as she can see all messages saved for a given interface in one container with the usage of INT4 Messenger. What if she would like to save messages and group them automatically to some subfolders depending on the partner or the customer that sends the message? It's also very easy. Let's jump to the demo system again and see how she can do this in the INT4 Suite cockpit. Daphne and her team already decided on the structure of the folders that their company will use. To see it, she has to click on the API Tester cockpit. Once the cockpit is opened, she can go directly to the main folder for this unit. Sarah and Daphne decided to have a separate folder per area, for instance, a separate for material master data, separate for order to cash, and another one for the source to pay. Then they decided to have a separate folder for each interface in the OTC folder, for instance, a specific one for the EDI sales orders, FTP sales orders, and partner ordering portal. For the last one, Daphne wants to save automatically test cases that are divided based on the ordering portal country. As you can see, the test cases and the folders are missing. Since Daphne wants to save automatically all the messages into the different folders based on the country, she can do such configuration in the robotic crawler. Let's go back to the main window and open the robotic crawler for SAP PIPO. Oskar already prepared the specific variant with all the information for Daphne, so she can just reuse the specific variant. As you can see, all the information have been fulfilled. First of all, she can see the environment, which is the production environment. This means that all of the messages will be saved directly from the production PIPO for this interface. You can see also the details of the interface for the purchase order from ordering portal in the service interface name. Daphne wants to cross-check if the rules to split the messages in the separate folders per country in the OTC folder are prepared correctly. So she can open the Open Extended Configuration and filter all the available entries by the interface name that she's interested in. As she can see here, there are two entries available for the same interface. They differ with the SAP PIPO sender party. Daphne already recognized two lines assigned to the specific interface. She can see two partners sending that message, PB2BPLKO14 and PB2BDEFS10. Each of them represents a different country that you can see on the right hand side. If the KO14 will send the message, the test case will be saved in the Poland folder, and in case it's FS10, it will be saved into the Germany folder. Daphne is relaxed as Oskar as always helped her and prepared everything as she requested. Messages from this interface will be saved under the partner ordering portal and the subfolder with the respective subfolder Poland and Germany depending on the sender party. Hey, sorry for disturbing a demo for a moment, but there is one thing worth mentioning. The split per folders in Daphne's interface is done based on the SAP PIPO party. But what if Daphne would be interested to do the split based on the value in the content of the message? For example, to have a separate folder per GLN number or the partner number. Would it be possible? Of course. Daphne and her colleague would just need to create a variable that points to the value they are interested in the payload, and then they could use this variable in the robot. My colleague Costa will share more about it in week 2, unit 4. Okay, end of talking, let's back to the demo. Daphne can go back to the main screen of the robot, and then she can check if the dates and everything else is prepared correctly. Next, she can define the test case creation parameters like the folder ID. In this case, all the messages will be created directly under the O2C folder that you could see before. down below, she can define the maximum number of test cases created for each folder. Let's change it to 50. Down below, Daphne can see the test case name pattern that is applied to this robot setup. As she recognizes all the test cases, will start with the partner ordering portal name and then dynamically the sender party and the value from the purchase order message will be assigned. Now Daphne can execute the robot and check if any new messages are created. The test case execution was done in foreground, but in most cases it's done in the background. Now Daphne can go back to the cockpit and see whether the new messages have been created. She will enter the API test cockpit and will go again to the respective folder for this unit. In the O2C subfolder, she can go to the partner ordering portal, where the newly created folders Germany and Poland are created. As she can see, there are new messages in each subfolder that are splitted based on the PIPO party. She can preview the details to see all the messages assigned to this folder. She immediately recognizes that the partner ordering portal and the dynamic test case description is applied. Every single test case contains the information about the sender party and the dynamic variable, so the content of the message that stores the real PO number. She can preview the content of the specific message by clicking on the pencil button. She can now virtualize the messages in no time by just clicking on the execute button, but this part will be presented in the next unit by Michał. Great! Now not only Daphne, but also her team and even different departments can benefit from the automatically saved and grouped messages by the robot. Daphne executed the robot in foreground, and it was the first execution. The beauty of using the robot is that it can be executed in background every single day to collect continuously messages for a specified interface as long as the maximum number defined in the robot is reached. In such case, every single day Daphne could see new messages saved. There is one more way of saving messages sent from the EDI partners. Daphne can also select a specific messages she's interested by using the message selector. Let's jump to the next demo. In the INT4 API tester cockpit, Daphne can select a specific messages based on the content. Let's assume that Daphne didn't set up the robot and she learned that there is a very specific message that was sent by the EDI partner with the specific purchase order number. In case she wants to save the specific message, she can go to the message selector, but first she has to create a new test case. She can describe the description, provide the interface type, and then the automation object. Next, she can use the message selector by clicking on the document number. Now she can provide the details about the time range from which she wants to save the messages. Then she can click search button and all the messages that were sent by the EDI partner for this interface will be displayed below. If she's interested in the specific message with this unique PO number, she can just type it in the purchase order number variable and then again click the search button. As Daphne recognizes, only one message has been found. She can select the message and click OK button. Now, once she saved the message content and the test case will be created. She can again preview the content by clicking on the pencil button to see if that's really the message that she wanted to save. Wow, that was a lot of information. In this unit, you learned that there are several ways of saving the messages sent by the EDI partners and external applications that can be used for the service virtualization. First, you learned that all of the messages from the defined interface can be saved into one big container by enabling the service virtualization scenario. Then, you saw how to save and group messages based on the details of the interfaces or even content of the message. In the same demo, you learned that each message can be named based on the content of the messages. Last but not least, you learned how to save only selected messages based on the specific content of the messages with the usage of the message selector. Thank you for watching and see you in the next unit, where you will learn more about how to use historical messages to enable the EDI partners virtualization.